Hello, Mike.
Hey Jay, how's it going?
Great man. Super huge weekend if you're into Marvel movies. Pretty substantial weekend.
Is
I
there a new
think.
movie out? I must have missed that. What is it?
Yeah, it was Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Oh, that's right. I did see that.
Yeah, me too. I risked getting COVID to see it. I was in
Yep.
a completely packed theater. No
Oh,
one
really?
wearing masks. Yeah.
I lucked out this time, man. There was very few people in my theater. It was great.
Yeah, yeah. I actually, my wife and I took a trip. We just got home, and I was thinking, man, I don't feel good. I don't feel too good. I feel kind of tired.
Yeah, you're like
I,
you're like criticizing anything that you feel like
yeah.
my
I
back's
hope I don't.
sore. Do I have COVID? Yeah,
I'm just 45. That's what it is.
right.
We have a special guest today, everyone. Arthur Geese. I was going to mess up your last name. I knew I was going to do it. Arthur Geese is with us. Say hey, Arthur.
Hello. I've heard like literally every conceivable way that someone could screw up my last name, so nothing phases me at this point. I've had people substitute in entire different letters.
It's
So
it's such an interesting spelling. It really is. It's like, well, that's Arthur, tell us what you do and where you're from and what you're doing now.
sure. I used to write about video games professionally, and then I stopped because that's awful, and the people that consume that content can be terrible. But while I was doing that, I worked for a site called IGN that you might have heard of, and then I co-founded a website called Polygon that a couple of people have heard about.
Yeah, that's my site I go to.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So so yeah, I did that for a while. Then I quit and went to grad school for something completely unrelated, and then I finished that and got a job at a place called Wirecutter, where I am a supervising editor for PCs and smartphones and tablets and that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Your
Very
painting's
cool.
amazing, Arthur. Like I always
Oh,
look at your painting. It's so cool. And
thank you.
I did a little Twitter snoop, and that picture of Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse is just fit. This it makes me mad they didn't use that for the movie. Oh my gosh.
Man. Like, it's funny, like, you look at that and you, like, go back 20 years and you think, okay, I could see somebody complaining about, like, how they got Apocalypse wrong. Like, that's, like, a nerd conversation that would not feel weird to anybody looking at, like, comic book movies in 2000, right? But then,
Yeah.
like, the second that you say to them, like, I really like the characterization of Wanda and Vision's relationship in this prestige format limited series that Disney put on their cable channel, but I just thought that the movie that they did entirely devoted to her and Doctor Strange and this character called America Chavez, like, it just really wasn't as consistent as I'd hope it'd be, and I'm super disappointed. And it's we'll see if it makes more than $500 million at the box office. Yeah. What a strange, ungrateful world we live in now.
Right? You know what? You're right. We are. I think we are ungrateful. We are living in the amazing times of my childhood. Like when I was 12, if I had like Disney Plus, like it is now, when I was 12, I'd never leave the house. I will have watched all those movies 1,000 times. Like it's so crazy.
Like, we have like popular culture debates, like we like Salon and the New Republic and like Variety and CNN are writing about Moon Knight.
Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
But
Like,
it's not like lightly writing about it. It's like serious essays
covering
and
it.
covering it and talking about it. Yeah. So that's what we
I
do.
was on Polygon earlier today, and there's like at least I think 4 different articles about this movie
Oh my god, it's crazy.
on their front page right now. So
Yeah, that checks out.
Well, we are
Yeah,
going
I mean,
to. Yeah.
it's pop culture, right?
Mhm.
yep.
It's
That's what I'm doing.
pop culture to the point of madness. That's all right. That was bad.
Mhm.
That was a bad joke.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's start with our initial takes of the movies. Mike, you go first. Tell us what you thought of the movie. Did you like it? Did you hate it?
I liked it a lot. This is one of the most fun Marvel movies I've seen in a while, and I'm trying to like pin it down. Hopefully, I can do that more as we talk about it. But it just had like a sense of liveliness to it that I think I haven't seen in a whole lot of Marvel movies as of late. I mean, definitely the latest Spider-Man movie had some of that, but I don't know. It was really fun. I think Sam Raimi did it.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah, Arthur, what do you think?
I think that initially I was a little sort of uneven on it because it's really it's funny to say that a 2-hour movie is short, but it feels short. And I think that it suffers a little bit coming on the heels of Spider-Man because Spider-Man is a giant event, and I think that that is like sort of like that combined with the crossover nature of this makes it feel like, oh, it's, you know, got to be huge, it's got to be giant, like it's got to be like an earth-shattering thing. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear.
We'll clean
It's
it
got to
up.
be like this.
Michael beep it out. Michael beep
All
it out.
right. It's got. I'll try not to give you too many beep jobs here. You know, like it's not. I think that there's like this idea that every big Marvel movie has to be like this earth-shattering thing, and I think that it's easy to fall into that trap. And there's been so many rumors about it over the last year and a half, and unfortunately, I saw some of them. So some things weren't as big a surprise as others. But I think that as a movie where they just decided to let Sam Raimi do his thing, I think it's pretty successful. And I actually kind of respect what it does with the character, with Scarlet Witch in particular, and also Doctor Strange, and also with the ending. And I think that I respect that they let him and the writers do that with the character, and so I enjoyed it. I think I'll have to see it again before I really know what I think about it.
Yeah, I was just thinking on the drive up today. Like I was coming back to see my mom, that I really want to see this movie again, and I don't know if I want to wait for it to come out on Disney Plus. But that's nothing. I didn't say that for any other movie, and I think one of the reasons why is because like it's so complicated. There's a lot of things going on in this movie, as far as not just the visuals and graphics, but even the storytelling. But it's a pretty straightforward story. It's like, you know, a young girl's in trouble. You know, let's help her. And then at the end, you know, we kind of like Doctor Strange helps her not need help, which I like, which I really liked. But the scene, we're not going in too deep about this right now, but we will. But the scene that really got me was the fight between Doctor Strange versus Doctor Strange towards the end with the music notes. And I was watching that, and I was like, this is fun to watch. Like, this is a fun,
exactly.
That
reminded me of the Scott Pilgrim movie. A lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, music versus music.
But it was just like, they were able, Sam Raimi was able to carve this little few minutes out to have this fight between these two that felt like, you know, a lot at stake. It was interesting to see them do it. I want to watch it with some headphones at some point to hear all the audio stuff that was going on, because there was a lot going on, and it was just super fun. But we'll get to Scarlet Witch towards the end of the podcast. What they did with Scarlet Witch, the sacrifice they had to do to get this movie to this point with the Scarlet Witch, was so much that my brain couldn't think of anything else but what are they doing? Like, that was the only thing I could think about the whole movie. It's like, Scarlet Witch, oh no, Wanda, oh no. But we'll talk more about that. But I think that Arthur, what you said about it coming on the heels of Spider-Man, I felt that too. It's like it was almost too soon. They could have waited for this like another month or two. But again, I think Marvel thinks it's successful. I think it probably makes $1 gazillion, and you know, and I've read things that like Benedict Cumberbatch wants to do more, which is super fun, because you know at any moment they can say no. But you know, overall, I think it was pretty good.
I mean, it's been a while since the Spider-Man movie, right? I think they gave it enough time to breathe.
When did it come out?
December.
Oh, yeah, it's like half a year.
Oh yeah, well, that's interesting. It feels like a lot sooner than that.
I mean, look, if they're giving Thor a 4th movie, they'll give Doctor Strange at least a 3rd.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it kind of feels like it's up to the actors at this point. It's like, yeah, I'll do another one, and they'll make another one. Yeah, I'll do another one. I want to talk about Thor towards the end for our news we can abuse segment. Mostly to talk about Natalie Portman, but I don't want to ruin that. So I think we all agree that's pretty good. I think this movie is only good with Sam Raimi. Without him, it wouldn't work. I actually had a friend of mine text me because he knows I do the podcast. And he asked, "Are there jump scares?" Because I don't like jump scares. And I was like, "Yeah, there's a couple of really good jump scares." So it was actually quite funny. But it was scarier than I thought. And there's some debate about it should have been PG-13. I'm curious, Arthur, do you think this should have been? This was PG-13 rated, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a fit. That's good.
I see like a bunch of like DC edgelords on Twitter, which are maybe like the worst comic book people on Twitter, I swear to God. Like talking about how like Marvel fanboys are like crapping themselves that there was like violence in a Marvel movie, blah blah blah, like, and how like, oh, everything should get an R rating now. But I'm how specific can we? I'm unfamiliar with the spoiler policy on this program.
We go
100% spoiler.
all out spoilers.
Like Black Bolt blows his head up.
Yeah.
Again, pardon me for the beeps. Like Black Bolt like bolts his brains out in his school. Like Captain Britain gets cut in half. Like some stuff is like clearly PG-13 territory, like neck snaps and things like that. But like they really, like you could tell. I mean, you can tell how much Marvel knew they were towing the line by how dark the blood is.
Yeah.
On the version of Wanda that's doing all this stuff, because like it gets progressively less red. It's like more and more black. And it's almost like they are just like terrified of the MPAA coming in and saying, what are you doing? To say nothing of like Chekhov's corpse at the beginning of the movie, like that so much of it hinges on, I think the movie's been pushing the PG-13 boundary for a long time, but yeah, there were parts where I was genuinely shocked. And I think that if they had been edited slightly differently, it would have been, like a pretty solid R. Like if it had been rated R, I don't know that I would have been super surprised.
No, and like I could see a version, like a rated R version of this come out somehow. But no, the level of violence actually surprised me. And Mike, I want to hear what you think. But the level, so the violence with when Wanda shows up at what's it called, Kamatage? And she starts attacking it. I was thinking, okay, she's just attacking them. At any moment, this can stop and de-escalate. But then, like, there's dead bodies, and like there's a burning corpse. I'm like, well, okay, there's a few people who have been killed. All right, but then when I really knew that this movie is gonna be different, is when she came out of the mirror, as like the ring type thing. Yeah. When she was like discombobulated and her bones were changed. I was like, okay, this movie, first of all, there's no going back for Wanda. She's completely gone. And second of all, this movie is going to be like super, like it's going to be on the dark side of it. And then when we got to the super violent part with Black Bolt blowing his brains out, but then like when she shreds Mr. Fantastic, literally shreds him apart, and then his skull pops. Did you see that part where it's like a little red explosion?
I missed that part. I just thought that was a funny scene. Shredding Mr. Fantastic.
Okay, you thought it was funny. Okay, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm like numb to this stuff, but
maybe
I saw people saying that this was like this was like a horror movie, and it was gross, and it didn't affect me that way. It definitely seems like it's kind of standard fare for a Marvel movie. I mean, the first Captain America movie had a guy that turned into red mist when he went through the plane of the propeller of an airplane.
Yeah,
But you see Guy, you see propeller, and then you see mist. You do not see Guy become mist. And I feel like seeing things like it's not just like you look at Mr. Fantastic and he's there 1 second, it cuts to one and it turns away, and then he's pool noodles. Like you see Mr. Fantastic being pool noodled,
right?
Yeah,
and that's
ripped apart,
pretty messed up. To say nothing of the fact that, man, it is just like there's trolling in this on the level of the Pietro stuff from WandaVision, having John Krasinski in this movie. Like
I completely agree.
I'm like, why are you playing with people's emotions this way?
There were cheers. There were cheers when he teleported in. People were like, "Oh my gosh, they did it! They're doing it!" They were really excited. And then when you see him getting killed, it was like Marvel being like, "Okay, you guys."
This is an alternate universe guy. Like he could still be in this universe, right?
But I think Arthur's got a really good point. And Marvel's been playing with this for a while. Marvel understands what the fans want, and they give it to them to a point. And then it's like, okay, you got it, but not really. Like, and to go back with Pietro and WandaVision, like everybody thought that the X-Men were going to be introduced into the shows, into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and no, it wasn't. And that annoyed me. And then you have, the Mr. Fantastic everybody wanted, and then he gets shredded to pieces like shredded cheese, like someone's like a grater. And then you get Black Bolt brains blown out and then you get like Captain Carter, who everybody was like super excited about seeing her live action, and she gets like chopped in half by her own shield. It's like there's somebody at Marvel who is like checking Reddit for what people want. And it's like, okay, we'll give them that for 3 seconds, and then we'll go kill. Like, it's like I think I agree with you, Arthur. Like they're playing with them a little bit,
and in a way, like they're this is another way of giving Marvel fans what they want, because Marvel fans do have like a taste for opportunities to see just like all of their heroes just absolutely slaughtered. Like there's a fine tradition of Marvel art, like of like limited series and like what ifs and stuff like that. Like one of the formative comics of me growing up, which is going to date me, and also no one's going to have heard this, is there was a thing called Mistek Wars. I don't know if people are familiar with Mistek Wars. It was like a Marvel UK thing that was like a massive crossover with all their stuff.
Oh, God, I do remember that.
Like, they kill everybody. Like, including Jean Grey, like, who had previously been mutilated, like, had half her face blasted off, like, commits suicide after she watches Cyclops get his chest blown out. Like, there's like a fine tradition of Marvel like killing people in ways to like just like mess with fans that they can then retcon or roll back or whatever.
Yeah,
but
like the zombie comics that you read, Mike. So like in that way, they all hate each other.
Yeah. I mean, but you guys don't think that is our introduction to the new Reed Richards? Because I definitely think that the rest of the Illuminati, we're never going to see them again, and I feel really sad that I'm never going to see live action Captain Carter again, because I would love to see that, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. But I do feel like that was our introduction to the Fantastic Four movie that they have slated for however long from now.
Yeah, I'm curious about what they're going to do too, because there's two things going on. One, I think it was fun to see him, and then two,
you had just told me that was like one of the rumored guys to play Reed Richards, like in our last podcast.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, people have been asking for that for a while. Him and his wife. What's his wife's name?
Emily Blunt, you said.
Yeah. So they want her to be the Invisible Woman. I think it could be. We'll have to just wait. We just gotta wait and see. Because go ahead, Arthur.
I think that they don't know what they're doing with Fantastic Four. They literally just lost the director on that movie.
Well, that's another rumor that I'm hearing, is that part of them losing that director is that what's his name? The guy that we saw in this movie is coming on as the director.
Huh. He does. I mean, the Quiet Place movies aren't bad. And there was like more ambition action wise and sort of direction wise in the second one than the first one. But the thing that struck me watching this, and also kind of Spider-Man, is like, we talked a little bit about this on Twitter, Jay, that like, this was not supposed to be when this movie came out. Like, this was supposed to be the fall movie, and Spider-Man was supposed to be the summer movie.
Yeah.
And COVID like screwed everything up, and they had to rewrite parts of the scripts for both movies to swap them around, and like Black Widow taking as long as it did to come out, and like Shang-Chi and all those other movies, like so many things. Like the problem with everything working in tandem, like and being part of the same machine, is that when one thing gets screwed up, everything gets screwed up. And something about this movie, like I enjoyed it, but it definitely feels like a little bit like a car being assembled on the road. And I think that increasingly I'm feeling that about a lot of Marvel stuff. Like, it's hard to feel like they know exactly what they're doing the way that it seemed like they knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah, like that's a really good point, because when you see the Illuminati, like it's kind of like fan service. Of course, it's fan service, but also it's almost like, hey, you have a lot of valuable like resources on that stage, and they're all going to be murdered, and I'm like, everybody's kind of been waiting to see Professor X on the big screen in a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, and now he's there, and I thought his scene was great. I thought Patrick Stewart did a good job, but it's almost like, okay, could you have done that differently? could the Illuminati be shown differently? I'm gonna go back and forth about that for a long time.
We got Patrick Stewart as Professor X in a Marvel movie, and I don't think he wants to play, that character in like the next 6 movies that X-Men.
He's so old. Did you see how he's just like Patrick Stewart is just, even with his stuff with Picard, I haven't watched it yet, but like he's just kind of, I think he's like done. I
don't think he wants to sign up for X-Men movies, but so we got him in an MCU movie, and I'm happy about that. I think it was pretty cool the way they did that.
And not only that, there's one thing I want to kind of highlight. Did you guys notice the X-Men sound when he showed up?
Absolutely, yeah, man.
Oh, so good.
From the cartoon.
The 90s, yeah, and also like the Jim Lee / cartoon like wheelchair.
Yeah, so good.
Was what he was in.
And even
also,
though his brain was trying to do
series
telepathy.
they're bringing back, right? They announced that they're bringing back the X-Men.
They're doing more animated episodes, right? It's like X-Men 94,
yeah,
I think is what they're calling it.
Yeah.
I also liked seeing Lashana Lynch as a different Captain Marvel. That was kind of cool to see.
She's got such a great attitude. Like she was like cocky but aggressive. She did a really good job. Yeah. And what's the guy who played
That's Monica
Black
Rambeau
Bolt?
you're talking about, right?
Yeah. The guy who played Black Bolt, he played that in the this dirt stupid series.
Yep.
That was cool.
They covered their bases.
In the what?
Definitely.
There was an Inhuman TV series that came out, and the guy who played Black Bolt in the movie Doctor Strange was Black Bolt in the series too.
Oh, okay.
So they brought him back.
Never watched that series.
He's the captain of. He is Captain Pike right now in the new Star Trek.
I'll also just say that like another thing, just to like back up my half-assed, I don't think they know what they're doing with Fantastic Four theory.
I think it's valid. I think it's valid.
Mr. Fantastic like has maybe the worst costume I've seen in a Marvel movie.
Yeah, it's bad.
It looks like it's made of felt. Like he's got like a felt suit. I don't understand what was happening there.
I mean, it's kind of true to form though, right? For the character from the comics.
I don't know.
Mr. Fantastic,
an iconic design.
They definitely they waver on how closely they want to hew to the comic book costumes and how far they want to diverge from them.
Right. I'm trying to remember what the Ultimates Fantastic Four looked like.
I'll even go one step further. I think that his whole body was CGI. I think that we just saw his face and the rest of it was CGI. When I was looking at it, didn't look right.
Possible.
It did not look right at all. It looked really weird. So I was thinking,
they did do his superpower though the right way. Like they showed him stretching into scene. That was pretty cool. I liked it. You said it wouldn't work.
It didn't work. I thought it was terrible. That's just me. We don't have to get too much into it.
Did it work better than it has before? Like, is this the best version of Reed Richards that has been in a movie?
God, I didn't watch the last movie.
Oh man, don't do that.
The original Fantastic Four movie that cost $2. I watched that. That was pretty good.
The Roger Corman one.
Yeah. We're going to do that one. Mike's never seen that, so one day we're going to watch it, and Mike's going to just have the best time of his life.
First, I'm going to try to find it.
It's not hard to find. It's somewhere on the internet.
Yeah.
But so we're kind of getting away from ourselves. So the reason why I invited Arthur onto the show is because we had a pretty good debate going on Twitter, and I think we could continue that debate here. Here's my feelings about Wanda. And Mike, so I'm going to say my feelings. Mike, you can tell me your feelings. And then, Arthur, I want to hear what your take is. The trailer, and I want to ask the listeners for forgiveness. I told everyone on this podcast that Wanda was not going to be the villain. I just said that several times. I was completely wrong. I was just the wrongest I've ever been in my life. And I don't know how I feel about her being the villain still. And even I would say, even after she killed the Illuminati, I thought, you know what? There's still a way that she can come back. There's I know she just murdered a whole bunch of people, but there's still a way that she can figure out a way to be a hero in some way. But then, of course, that's not the case. So, Mike, I'm curious your take. And then, Arthur, I'm very curious about your take about it. And hopefully we can have a good back and forth. Go ahead, Mike.
I mean, I was also wrong. We saw the trailers and the teasers, and all the hype, and everybody thought that Wanda was going to be the villain. And I
Did
thought
they?
that lots of people said they thought she was going to be the villain.
Yeah.
And I thought that maybe Marvel was cutting some of the stuff to make it questionable as to whether she was the villain or not. But I go back to WandaVision, and Agatha told us that like Wanda was going to be a villain. She was going to be the reason that the world ends. And I was like, okay, Agatha says it. I don't believe it. So I think in the upcoming movie, Wanda's going to be a hero, not a villain. So I just have to say here that Agatha was right. And I was wrong. I think it's kind of uncharacteristic, though, from the ending that we got in WandaVision. Feels like, it was somewhat resolved. She realized what she was doing to these, couple hundred people in the town.
Maybe a couple thousand, right? It's a pretty big town. But yeah.
Okay.
But yes, she went from, I screw with you guys' heads and I tortured you guys for a couple days.
I'm so sorry about that. That was wrong. Yeah. You're all set free. I'm not going to do a big apology or anything, but I realized that was wrong, and I'm not. You're good. I'm gonna get out of here and go kind of isolate myself. To now, like the body count. So the body count in this is pretty high, I guess, for the visible body count, and this is high. The body count in like the Endgame and Infinity Gauntlet were really, really high, but it wasn't that visible.
She killed more people than Thanos did, and she killed more people than Thanos did in Infinity.
More on screen, yeah.
Yeah.
No, because Thanos killed like half of the Asgardians.
But then they all came back. Oh yeah, no, you're right.
No.
Like you're right. Yes, you're right.
Every conflict that Thanos engaged in, anytime he like fought anybody, he killed half of anybody.
Okay, good point.
But you don't see that. Like all the bodies.
At the beginning of Thor, you see like a ship full of bodies.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true.
Okay.
That's true.
He kills Loki to start that movie.
Yeah. No, but it's Mike, you make a really good point. At the end of WandaVision, I'm sad for Wanda, and I really want her to be able to have a good life.
Right.
And then I knew something was crazy going to be wrong when like she tells Doctor Strange, "Listen, I've been really patient. I've been holding back, but you have until sundown." Okay, and I'm like, "Oh, this is different. This is a different attitude." Like, I was like, "Okay, she's being manipulated, or this isn't the real Wanda." And then, like, of course, the whole movie keeps going. Arthur, I really want to hear your take on this, like, because like you feel like it's okay, like you think that you think that part was successful. You feel like it was a good piece of storytelling, correct? Am I right on that?
I think that it's like the tougher choice. I think it's the more believable choice, and I think that it's the braver choice. But I mean, like, also, this is what Wanda has always been.
Yeah,
like in Avengers: Age of Ultron, like how many people in Africa die or are severely injured because of what she does to the Hulk?
Yeah,
yeah. And then she helps at the end. But like she is directly like complicit in what happens to Sokovia, which is never discussed. Like, she talks about like her people being gone, but what is the part that she plays in it? In Civil War, like what is the kickoff for the Sokovia Accords? It's Wanda killing a bunch of people because she f***ed up.
Wasn't that like completely an accident?
It was an accident.
Like she saved, like more people would have died if she hadn't done anything there.
Right, but it's like it's her not understanding like the capacity of her powers and like the degree to which she can cause damage. In Infinity War, she leaves Vision to go fight on the battlefield, which exposes Vision to danger. In Endgame, she comes back and like, she almost destroys Thanos, which already is like a huge red flag, no pun intended, for how powerful she is. And then Westview, like the thing about Westview that makes me more sympathetic to Wanda in that show is like in the last episode when it shows her sort of driving through that town and finding the lot that Vision bought for her, like Westview is clearly like a town where everybody is miserable. Like it's super run down, it's falling apart, it's like a town that's dying,
right?
That like the world seems to have forgotten. Like the FBI sticks somebody from witness protection in Westview because that's how little people care about Westview. So like in her mind, I think it's believable that part of her thinks that she's giving them a better life, even though that's clearly not the case. But like the entire arc of Wanda's character has been struggling with a power that she doesn't understand and that she has difficulty controlling. That and something that the Marvel universe and the previous Doctor Strange like has explored is that like these are powerful characters that can cause a hell of a lot of damage with the ass covering of I did it for the greater good, which is something they repeat in this movie over and over again. Like, and I think that the case that it's making is that and this is a case it makes explicitly multiple times. I just think most people don't want to hear it because Doctor Strange, good guy, and Scarlet Witch, bad person. Like things just got a little out of hand, or like it's for the greater good, or like on this like the scales of like the multiverse, like their sacrifice means little, like things like that. And I think that
she's not saying though that what she's doing is for the greater good. She's very selfish about it. It's for her greater good.
But in her mind, she sacrificed everything to try to save the universe, like to save half of the universe, and that and she says this multiple times. It meant nothing. So I think that I understand coming out of WandaVision and wanting Wanda to be okay, but like I've known people with trauma. Like, is there any? I assume that. Like, you know, we're all old enough to have met people who have gone through traumatic events. Is there any situation where there's been like one clarifying event that changed someone's life to the point that we expect of a character who is like godlike in her ability and also like lost the only person she ever loved, lost every person she ever loved, had kids for a split second in new happiness, and then had to give them up? Like, there's no, I think that what she becomes in Multiverse of Madness is completely in keeping with the character, and it bums me out because I like Wanda, and Elizabeth Olsen does a great job making her charming and interesting, and I think that the acting in this movie is great, actually, especially like Elizabeth Olsen with both of the Wandas that appear. But you know, like, what else could the character become? And again, like, this is something the comics have struggled with over and over again. You know, like, what do you do with that character? Like, you only make her interesting by making her more powerful, but the more powerful you make her, the more catastrophic the potential for the damage she can cause is. And, you know, this, I kind of admire that they leaned into it so hard in this. I'm kind of bummed that they gave it to Sam Raimi to demonstrate that, because you can tell that he cares more about making his weird kind of semi-horror movie than he does about like its greater sort of plot and continuity consequences. But you know, that's where I'm at with this.
Yeah, and you make some really good points. So
I can see how
go ahead, Mike.
at the end of WandaVision with her children basically vaporizing, maybe that's like the additional trigger to spawn this. But it just seemed like, to me at the end, she was kind of pulling a Hulk and going off on her own to just isolate and stay away from people. But
that's a pretty good reference.
She went off to study the most cursed book in the multiverse.
right.
Yeah. She went
off so bad that every multiverse knows about it and says, "Why are you reading that book?" Yeah. Multiple Doctor Stranges have been destroyed for reading that book.
So, like, here's my biggest problem is that it's obvious, like, from things we've read over the weekend, that Sam Raimi didn't watch WandaVision or know much about it. And so
people told him about the important parts that would affect his movie, is what he said. Yeah.
I like what they did with Wanda, and I agree with Arthur here. I wish that it was treated a little differently as far as, like, her constant movement towards this darkness. Because when she attacks Kamotesh, what's it called?
Kamotage.
When she attacks Kamotage, she kills people, right? And like, I wanted a moment where she like looks at a dead body and she's like, I'm doing this. This isn't good, but I just gotta keep going. Like there was never. She was pretty solid in her conviction that what she's going to do this, and I needed more moments where she's like hesitant, and I didn't get that. She was very aggressive, and I'm fine with that in some ways, but
yeah, I think she's beyond that point at the beginning of the movie because
yeah,
the very first thing we see is she's got this monster chasing a poor girl uh, through multiverses to basically take her power and leave her dead.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I feel this is going to be something I'm going to deal with for a while with this movie and this story because part of it's selfish. I love Elizabeth Olsen. I love her in this. I love her as Wanda Maximoff, and I want to see her do it more and more often.
Right.
Now, could they do that with like alternate versions of her, the multiverse, blah blah blah? Of course. But this particular character of Wanda, we've seen for a long time, and Arthur, all the movies and TV shows you've talked about, we watched her go through this, and it was somebody that we cared about, and like. Now she's just gone, and I'm like, I would rather her somehow get out of it, even after she murdered everyone else. I would have loved it if she somehow escaped at the end. And I was like, I would have been like, that's okay, like she'll be fine. But like, some of it is how Raimi directed it. But here's my main beef: the trailers and all the stuff they released up into this movie did not prep anyone to think that she was going to be a villain. Like, I just did not do that. And like, you could have watched all these trailers and you would have never known that she was going to be the villain. And
really though? Are you sure they didn't? Because didn't they? There were like people saying like, "Is that zombie Wanda terrorizing her way?"
Yeah,
they
definitely.
That's why I thought it was.
Fooled us with that. Like I sure thought that was zombie Wanda.
I totally thought it was zombie Wanda.
Wanda with blood splattered on her face.
Yeah, and I thought it was zombie Wanda. Zombie Wanda. I thought it was zombie Wanda. I thought it was zombie Strange. I didn't know that was going to be Doctor Strange taking over a body.
I for sure thought there were going to be a lot of zombies in this movie based on the trailers.
And like. If you look at the trailers, they did a really good job masking it. And then when you get to it, I feel like there was a moment in the movie where Wanda says America's name, and then Doctor Strange is like, I didn't tell you who it was. And then Wanda's like, okay, jigs up. And then she snaps her fingers and the illusion's gone. I feel like that was something I feel like I could be completely wrong, but it's like they knew that what they were doing with the trailers, and they knew that everybody was going to think A, but then give them B when they see the movie, and this kind of felt a little too cute for me. And then it's like, okay, I have to come to the realization that whatever's happened in this movie, I have no way of knowing, and I guess that's fine.
They don't want to give away the plot in the trailers, but they're kind of trapped in this world where every other trailer shows too much, and so that's what people have come to expect. And so now you've got to show a lot in your trailers, but without revealing the plot, so you've got to be deceptive.
What do you think, Arthur?
I mean, I honestly think that, like, in the grand scheme of Marvel deception, this is pretty minimal. Like,
yeah.
This is the studio that has spent, like, other movies' entire effects budgets creating alternate 3-second shots in trailers to, like, deceive people about what's in them. Like, there's, like, No Way Home is the sort of most recent example. And also, like, the trailers for Infinity War that showed the Hulk. Like, when he's not in that movie.
What did they do for No Way Home?
They took the other Spider-Men out of the Statue of Liberty fight.
Yeah.
Where it was like 3 villains swinging into battle against just Tom Holland's Parker. And it's like, there was like an extended version of that shot in like a South American or Brazilian version of that trailer. And you see the Lizard act like he gets punched and no one's there. And that's why people started speculating that there was like, they had been removed.
Yeah, even in ours, you can see like the arc of the Lizard is as if he's going after somebody else that's not in the frame. Yeah,
exactly. And so I think that, like, for them to just do clever editing around the story, I actually appreciated that. I appreciated that, like, they didn't blast it out that it was, quote, our Wanda that was going to be the villain. And I also appreciate that they didn't, like, screw around and say, like, and be cute for like 45 minutes before they revealed that actually it was Wanda
Yeah.
all along. For a little callback.
It's like it's even going to affect me in some ways, because like we just did a whole thing on WandaVision, and I said, and I still stand that WandaVision is the best series they've done. But now, like, she's like a flat out murderer, and like I don't know, we'll just have to we have to wait. But I want to hear your take on this, Arthur. Are we witnessing a weird place right now where you have like Twitter, you have Reddit, you have fan expectations, you have fan theories, you have Marvel, and you have the actual movies themselves? Are we witnessing a weird? I don't know. I don't want to say the term I want to say because Mike's going to bleep it out. But there's a weird relationship happening between fans and the studios right now that I don't think I've ever seen before.
I think that I think Marvel has kind of set themselves up to deal with this a little bit, because right now we're in a phase where everything has crossed over so much, and like we're at a moment with a pop culture phenomenon that nobody's ever dealt with before, which is like a near global basic familiarity with at least half of the characters in like a sprawling collection of like 27 movies. And like that allows them to do a movie, like a tentpole massive blockbuster globally, starring Doctor Strange and the Scarlet Witch. And like next is the Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor. You know, like they have the cash to do that. But I think that what needs to happen are some like more limited things to pull people's expectations back down to the fact that not every conflict is going to be like No Way Home, and not every conflict needs to be Multiverse of Madness. Not every conflict is a mini Infinity War or Civil War. Like I think that the problem is that there were 3 Marvel movies that came out in 2021, and all of them kind of underperformed. And I think maybe people just, like, a lot of people didn't see those movies and are seeing Doctor Strange and are seeing Spider-Man. And Spider-Man is what an audience expects going straight from Endgame into the MCU again after 2 years, you know? Like, it's like that big, like, important movie with tons of things going on all at once, whereas like Black Widow, Shang-Chi, and the Eternals are not.
Yeah.
And I just think that the Marvel like stuff needs time to sort of have more personal stories, maybe. But if it doesn't, then you're gonna get like some divisiveness in opinion. Like I do not envy anybody at Marvel right now, because they have like the hardest job in movies that I can think of, which is to like make Black Panther 2 work.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah.
Like, which is also like setting up the future of Iron Man and Namor. Like, how do you do, like, that's hard enough when you didn't lose Chadwick Boseman, you know, like,
and one of the lead actors, you know, said some very interesting things about vaccines, you know,
is
like,
a vaccine denier that like broke her leg on set and is difficult to work with. And apparently, like, what do you do there? I don't know. Like, Marvel is like in a, like, they are at the top of a mountain they built, but now they need to figure out what next, and that's a difficult place to be. Like, it's hard to exist at that kind of altitude for too long. Like, I think that they've got to come down, and the TV shows are supposed to be that, but that's not the way that people look at them.
Yeah, no, yeah, you got a really good point. Like, and like if I'm like DC and I'm seeing all this, like, the obvious places for DC is to try to do stuff like the Batman and stuff like that. Where it's like, you know, we'll do something and we'll see how it goes. But as far as like the massive machine that Marvel's created, I think it's successful. I think it's fun. I love it. But at the same time, it's like I always kind of wonder how long can this last. That's my worry.
Will they blow it up and start over? I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's the only option. I guess, yeah. And there's several different things in the comics where they can do that, where it would work.
Well, the speculation I'm seeing is that they're working their way towards Secret Wars.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I really hope the new Spider-Man movies like bring everything back to Earth, and we get like the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He's not working with the rest of the MCU for every movie, and not every movie is about the end of the world, and that can kind of reset people's expectations.
So I would like to see Spider-Man with Daredevil. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, yeah. Ooh, I would love to see Shang-Chi, Iron Fist, and Daredevil, or just Shang-Chi and Iron Fist. To be honest with you,
God, what do they even do with Iron Fist?
they need
That's the problem that Disney has with having all those Netflix shows and putting
Yeah.
Charlie Cox back in the MCU. Is now they've got Iron Fist too.
They gotta embrace them. They gotta. They don't run away. Embrace it. They gotta embrace it. That's my feeling about it.
So you liked that, sir, didn't you? Or
I like Iron Fist in the comics, and I want to see a cool Iron Fist. That's what I'd like to see. Let's wrap up. Final thoughts about Doctor Strange before we get into news you can abuse. Mike, you go ahead.
I thought it was great. It was a lot of fun. Sam Raimi did some cool stuff. We got some shots where the camera is a demon attacking somebody. It was good.
Arthur, what was your favorite part of the movie? I'm curious.
I think Zombie Strange is pretty cool. I just there's a meanness to a lot of Sam Raimi's stuff that people haven't seen in a long time. Like, people think Army of Darkness and Amazing Spider-Man, but like there's also Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 and Drag Me to Hell, which is one of the meanest films I've ever seen. And I think that there was a lot more of Evil Dead and Drag Me to Hell in this movie than I expected, and I respect that. Like what you were talking about, like coming out of the mirror for Wanda, and
so
like
good.
the demon cape for Strange, and like the heart-to-heart conversation between Zombie Strange and America Chavez.
I was just thinking about that in the car today. I was like, that is such a weird scene.
But I think my favorite thing about this movie that every other Marvel movie doesn't do is that the ending didn't win with them beating the shit out of Wanda and like locking her up. It was like showing Wanda that what she was doing was completely at odds with who she thought she was as a person. And like the first Doctor Strange ended with like a cute magic trick, like, and that's what I would want from these movies. And I appreciate that, like, for whatever differences there are in tone between this and the last one, that like these are movies where the solution isn't to just beat the crap out of the other person, like that there has to be a different solution. And I appreciated that was present here.
I think I agree with you. I think that I think if I watch Doctor Strange and then in this movie, both Doctor Strange movies, I think Benedict Cumberbatch does a fantastic job with the character. I think he takes him seriously, and I think it's fun to watch. And we're going to talk more. We have a couple other podcasts coming up this week. We're going to talk more about Doctor Strange specifically later. But it's weird. I'm actually going to say this out loud. I'm a fan of the Doctor Strange movies. I'm a fan, and I wouldn't have said that before, but I think now after this movie, I'm enjoying that in a special way that I didn't before. Even though I kind of feel weird about Wanda still, I think talking to you guys about it has helped me. Kind of, it's like almost like some therapy. Like, okay, it's gonna be fine.
Support group.
Yeah, a little. No, seriously, it has been. But like, before we wrap up, how do you show this movie to someone who's never seen a Marvel movie before? You can't, right? Like they won't know what's going on at all, So it's a weird thing. All right. We have
real quick.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
What did y'all think of Bruce Campbell?
Yeah, it's fine.
He Bruce Campbelled.
Yeah, Bruce Campbell.
I'll be honest, like when I'm sitting in a Marvel movie now, like any comic book movie, I always, when the credits start, I Google what the post-credit scenes are, because I don't want to waste my time and like have to wait 10 minutes to use the bathroom if I don't have to. And I watched the Charlize Theron, the Sybil post-credit scene, and left after that. I don't need to see Bruce Campbell like doing a gag at the end. Yeah. I can watch that when it comes to Disney Plus.
Oh, I liked it. I liked his scene in the movie. I liked the end credit scene. It was a good kind of reminded me of the end credit scene at the end of Ferris Bueller, which was the first of those I think I ever saw.
I didn't know Ferris Bueller had an end credit scene.
Yeah, he tells everybody to go home. The movie's over.
Oh, it's the Deadpool end credits scene.
Yeah, he hasn't seen Deadpool.
I haven't seen any Deadpools.
Huh?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna twist his arm, and we'll do that someday.
That's fun. All right, we got some news you can abuse. First up, Elizabeth Olsen talks about everything about her role and being the villain and everything else. Interesting. I've read a couple things from her. She has like a contract, like a contract per thing she does. So she had a contract for this, and now it's done. And now if they want her back, she'll have to sign a new contract. So we could see her again. We could not. We'll have to wait and see. So that's curious. But there's a link in the show notes if you want to read more of what she said. I thought it was a pretty good interview. But the last news you can use, which is the only thing that you should care about, is that Natalie Portman is jacked. She is so jacked. Have you seen this picture yet, Mike?
I haven't seen it, but I thought people were saying some of that might be prosthetics.
I don't know.
No.
Look at
her arms.
Yeah, look at the picture, Mike. Have you clicked on it yet?
I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, that's her. Right, Arthur? I think that's her.
I'm pretty sure that's her, yeah.
That's crazy. She looks great. The whole outfit looks fantastic. Like, I keep looking at her, and then I'm like, who's that guy next to her? Who's that guy? Like, I don't care. I'm so excited about her in this role.
It's Natalie Portman, you know?
It's Natalie Portman, but she's also like Thor right here. You know, it's going to be really fun. I'm curious, because like if you watch the other two movies, she did not like doing these other two movies at all. Especially the first one, which I respect because the first one's garbage. But I wonder if she had fun doing this. I'm curious about that. Anyway, that's our news we can abuse. Arthur, do you have a podcast or anything you're doing or anything you want to kind of give a shout out to or anything you want to promote?
Yeah, I mean, we're still doing Rebel FM. We've been doing that for, awesome. 13 years.
Tell listeners what Rebel FM is.
When OneUp.com, which was a video game website about video games, imploded back in early 2009, a bunch of people who worked at that site decided to spin up like a quick podcast to continue talking about video games, which I helped them do. And I help co-host, and now it's myself and my longtime friend Anthony Gallegos, who went from writing about video games to making them.
That's awesome.
He works at the Subnautica devs now. We talk about video games and movies and other stuff. It's at rebelfm.libsyn.com or Spotify or Apple or basically everything.
Anywhere you can find podcasts.
Yeah. What was the previous episode about, Arthur, and what's your upcoming episode about?
Oh God. I mean, it's pretty much all like current gaming stuff. Although I feel like most recently we might have argued a lot about Star Trek. That was a couple weeks ago. We talked about like Star Trek, and we've been talking a lot about movies lately because movies have been coming out again. Mm-hmm. And the last episode we talked about Halloween 3, which I saw at a midnight showing recently, which is not a movie I would recommend, but is a very interesting movie nonetheless.
Oh yeah, so yeah, you've been doing Rebel FM forever. That's awesome, man. I'm glad you're still doing it. That's fantastic. So Mike, I got a question for you, Mike.
What's the question?
So we're doing a special episodes for Doctor Strange, right? So what are we doing Thursday? We're going to do another recording, right?
Yeah, I'm going to ask you questions about who are all these people that I don't know in the Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah, so I have to tell you all the characters. It's going to be a whole. Like, I'm glad we're doing separate podcasts.
Like that Black Bolt guy. I have no idea who that guy is.
That's going to be so much fun. I can't wait. And then we're going to have another one where we're going to record on Sunday just on Doctor Strange and him and the movie. So it's going to be fun. So listeners, please check that out. And Mike, how can people find this? How can people, share this? How can people give this to their friends and family?
We are everywhere you can find podcasts. Whatever you're doing right now, if you're looking at us on YouTube, listening to us somewhere, follow, subscribe, share. Hit the share button right now. Share this with your friends. Share this with your coworkers. Share it with your arch enemies. Get the word out there.
Yeah. If you have an arch enemy, record this on a boombox and do it like say anything, just lift it up above your head and play it to them.
That's a good one. I should do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do just in a second. I'm going to make my wife listen to this, and she hates this podcast. She absolutely hates it, which is good. It's fun. Arthur, thank you so much for joining us, man. I think that conversation was needed, and I'm so glad to have your perspective. Thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.